What's up with the hat, Mr. X? Is this a different type of video? Is it a different type of countdown? Damn straight it is. Hey, for you new people, my name is Mr. X. This is the Extreme Channel. A big part of this channel is all about extreme collectibles, specifically statues. However, we're not going to talk about that today. Today, we are doing a top 10 countdown. That's right, we've been doing top 10 countdowns of everything. Best sexual positions, best way to sit on a turlet, best statues. And today we're looking at something a little bit different. It's going to be high-end collectibles, but it's not going to be statues. This was actually suggested by one of you. They said, Mr. X, I know you're into autographed memorabilia, and if you've caught my journey on how I amassed my collection, this was one of my precursors into statue collecting, was autographed memorabilia. It started with sports and then it moved over to movies. So today we're going to count down my favorite autographed memorabilia. But before we do that, we're doing a statue giveaway. We are going to hit 20,000 subscribers in 2020. To do that, we're giving away a statue every 2,500 subs. At 15,000 subs, the winner will get to choose between these two PCS Mortal Kombat statues. Make sure that you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, and you've hit that bell notification. Then stay tuned towards the end of this video to find out how to enter. Now before we dive head in, I want to address a few things. A lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, how do I know if it's reputable? How do I know if this signature is real? Well, I can't help you with that. However, I can give you a few tips. So tip number one when you're buying autographed memorabilia, it's an age-old adage, and the age-old adage is, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. I'm here to tell you, if it seems too good to be true, it is. When you're looking for a good deal on a signature, especially a very wanted signature, it's not going to be cheap. You're not going to get lucky. You're not going to magically find a great deal no one else found out about. So Mr. X, if it costs a lot of money, it's definitely safe? No, not at all. Unfortunately, there's so many forgeries out there. Now, what you want to look at is you want to look at the authentication. First thing I want to tell you, tip number two, anyone who authenticates their own stuff is a liar. I can sit right here and sign Harrison Ford's name, Tom Cruise, Glenn Close, and then give you a certificate I printed up on the computer saying it's legit. Do not take any company that authenticates their own stuff. One of the first pieces I ever got of memorabilia, my father actually bought for me. It was a Jaws poster signed by the three main characters. And I loved it. I displayed it proudly. But then when I started getting into autographed memorabilia for myself about 5 years later, I started doing some research. Now, the address of the authentication company wasn't even real, which of course my father didn't know, but since then he's learned quite a few things and he still collects stuff like that. So kind of a basic rule of thumb, there's a number of authenticators out there that are really highly valued, that most people, yep, they are real. And if it's one of these, typically 95% of the time you don't have anything to worry about. Those are PSA, JSA, DNA. No, I'm just kidding. DNA is not one of them. Beckett, Fanatics. I guess that's only 4. So if it's those 4, I never question it. Now, when you're buying something from someone, tip number 3 is get it authenticated before you buy. It only costs $100. It does take a while to have it authenticated, but have the seller ship it off to whoever you say you want PSA to authenticate it, or JSA is a little bit cheaper, and wait till it comes back. I've saved myself a few different times where they would not authenticate it, and the seller legitimately thought that it was real. Now, sometimes you'll run into some issues where maybe Beckett will authenticate it, but JSA won't. Well, how could that happen? So when I say authentication, basically they have experts that study the handwriting, and they look at the signatures of the signer, and they say, yes, this is exactly them. Like if you've ever seen Pawn Stars, it's like that, but a lot more in depth. So enough with all that, let's start, and I'm going to do both sports and movie stuff together. So we're going to have a top 10 here, but as always, we're going to start out with some honorable mention. Now, all my honorable mentions are actually collages. And as I said, everything I have is authenticated by the companies I just spoke about. Or in a rare circumstance, it's a different company that I have verified. Now, a lot of these I bought as is, but a lot of them I had them put together for me. And when I say they, who is they? It's a number of people, distributors, sellers, sourcers. Not sorcerers, sourcers, who source that stuff for me. So my honorable mentions, my first one is the first movie piece I ever bought. This is a collage from the movie 300. Probably one of my top 5 favorite films for so many reasons. And if you've seen it, you probably understand. But here, this is awesome because it's signed by the 3 main characters. Xerxes, or Rodrigo Santoro, Lena Headey, who played the Queen, and of course, Gerard Butler, who played King Leonidas. I love it. It has the sword as a prop. Very cool piece. Another honorable mention that is a collage is Pulp Fiction. Again, an amazing movie, and this was signed by everybody. Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, John Travolta, Bruce Willis. Separate photos by Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Amanda Plummer, with a little gun prop in there as well. Now, something you should know, if you have autographed memorabilia signed by multiple people, when you put it together in a collage like this, it's not as valuable if it was all on one piece of paper. Just kind of a heads up on that. Sometimes it doesn't even exist on one piece of paper. For example, this Dark Knight piece right here, this collage was signed by everybody but Heath Ledger. And the reason why it wasn't signed by Heath Ledger is because he wasn't alive when the real posters came out. But this was signed by Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, Aaron Eckhart, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and Morgan Freeman. Now, what I was lucky enough is I have a piece of paper signed by Heath Ledger below that I added to this collage. So that doesn't really necessarily give this collage more value, but it does make it damn cooler. Last honorable mention is a guitar guard signed by the John Williams. The greatest music movie composer of all time: Jaws, Superman, Indiana Jones, Home Alone, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, E.T., Harry Potter. He is just a musical genius. So now we're going to move to my top 10, and a lot of people are going to be surprised that some of these top 10s are higher than those honorable mentions, but a lot of it is my ties to it. And that's exactly the case with number 10. This is signed by the Impractical Jokers. This is my absolute favorite comedy group. It's my favorite television show. I've been a big fan of these guys before they even became on the Impractical Jokers. I've seen them 4 or 5 times live. My Facebook photo is with one of them as well. Absolutely a big fan, signed by all 4 of the Impractical Jokers: Joe, Sal, Murr, and Q. Number 9 is also a bunch of nostalgia. This one was a tough one to get, and I have it in a little collage here. This was signed by all 4 of the Goonies. Now, it's more difficult to get all 4 of them together. Typically, you can get all 3 of them, but I even have a doubloon coin in the bottom. And they weren't signed at the same time, as you can see, but that still doesn't really deteriorate the value anyway because it is authenticated. This is the Goonies. Number 8 is a big collage that I had them make for me, but the photo is signed by all the Avengers, and the glare is horrible on this, but you've seen this during my room tours. This is from Avengers Age of Ultron, and it has every single Avenger from that movie signed it. This is a very valuable piece. A few of these are hard to get. For example, Scarlett Johansson is not a big autographer. If you want her autograph, it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. This is a pretty unique piece right here, but I absolutely love it. And as you can tell, my countdown list doesn't necessarily have to do with value, although some of the top ones are a lot more valuable than the other ones. Number 7 is also about nostalgia for me. There's only one signature, but I had him create an awesome collage. I wish Rocky would have stopped after Rocky 4 because it kind of went downhill from there, even though I did enjoy the Creed movies. This glove is signed by Sylvester Stallone, so I was able to source this, and then I had them create the rest of the collage for me. It would be cool if I could get his opponents to sign the other ones, but not really on my agenda, even though they are still alive, so maybe I could do that one day. But I absolutely love this. I think it's a stunner, and Rocky is one of my all-time favorite movie series. Number 6, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so when it came to basketball, we only had one name. That's right, this is Michael Jordan. And what's crazy about this is signed by Michael Jordan. My son has almost this exact same setup signed by Steph Curry because that's his Michael Jordan in his generation. He also has a ball signed by Steph Curry. But this looks awesome. I love the way it's matted. It's all about presentation. Very similar to statues on this. It just looks really, really sharp like this. That I bought as is, but this next one I had them construct. So this is a Muhammad Ali glove. And one thing with like PSA, the authenticator for this company, they have a grading scale just like CGC does. And this is actually extremely high. I think it's like a 9.8. And during my room tour, someone told me it's like that signature doesn't look real. It's like that's how Muhammad Ali signed. You can imagine his hands probably don't work very well, but it's a legitimate piece. I love the display. It's one of the best photos of Muhammad Ali. It's one of those inspirational things almost. Now for these next two, we're going to stay with sports. But I was lucky enough to go to the 2013-2015 AFC Championship games where the Broncos played the Patriots both times, and they won both times. Well, in 2015, they went to the Super Bowl and they won it. I didn't get to go to the Super Bowl. However, I did manage to get this piece right here. This was signed by the starting lineup. Very, very cool. One of my most proud pieces. This is right above my fireplace in one of my living rooms. I absolutely love it. And, you know, it's cool that I was able to participate in that, even though I didn't get to go to the game, but it'll always hold a big place in my heart. Now, what's funny is I do have another piece signed by Peyton Manning, but the Peyton we're about to talk about isn't Peyton Manning. My number 3 favorite piece is this Walter Payton signed jersey. Now, this holds a lot of value because growing up, I was a Bears fan from about 1985 to 2000. Obviously, Peyton helping the Bears win the '85 Super Bowl. And what's funny is with no sports going on due to the coronavirus, my wife told me the '85 Bears Super Bowl's on the other day. So I got to watch my man Walter Payton just destroy them. It was hilarious. I just love that dude. I love watching that dude, one of the best running backs ever. And obviously, he's no longer alive. So that holds even more value for this jersey, both financially and then. So number 2, you used to see all the time, and a lot of people question me on it. This is a signed guitar by Michael Jackson. I had everything made on this. I had the case made with the different album covers. You know, as an 80s and 90s child, I loved Michael Jackson. I remember seeing him do the moonwalk for the first time, not understanding how a human being could walk like that. But this is an extremely valuable piece. It's a rare piece. And, you know, they say he was the king of pop. I totally agree with that. Granted, he had kind of a weird lifestyle that a lot of us didn't understand or maybe even approve of when he got older, but that's neither here nor there for me. This is when he was, you know, in his prime with Beat It and Thriller and Bad. Very, very cool piece in my collection. Now, number 1 is another collage that separately the value isn't that high. Put together, it does raise the value a little bit, but I just love how it's set up. I had this made for me. I had to source the different photos. But this is my Star Wars collage with so many different signatures on here. We have the late Peter Mayhew and Carrie Fisher. I actually got these before they passed away with Anthony Daniels, who played C-3PO, who honestly probably won't be around too much longer. Han Solo signed the blaster, which is awesome, and I've met Harrison Ford in real life. Very, very cool. Mark Hamill and Frank Oz signed this picture right here of Luke with Yoda. Then George Lucas on the set of Star Wars, had to throw him in, of course. And then a James Earl Jones signed mask. Granted, I would want a David Prowse as well. It'd be awesome if both their signatures were on this, but it's not. I think then this would take this over the top even more. But you can't really find too many things with both of their signatures on it. It's usually one or the other. So that is my top 10. So in the comments today, go ahead and throw below any questions you have on those or any autographed memorabilia you have or what your bucket list signature would be. That would be cool to find out. By commenting on it, you could win the statue. To win one of these Mortal Kombat statues, all you have to do is comment on a video. At 15,000 subscribers, I'm going to pick a random video and pick a random comment. That person will win the prize. They can choose between these 2 pieces. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed today. It'll be interesting to see how well this video does, but go ahead and check out some of these other top 10 countdown lists and make sure you subscribe because I have tons of cool collectibles coming in and there's a lot of other stuff, surprises on the way for you. But until tomorrow, take care.